There we go. Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 140. I think it's 142 of the Lumber Word. Beamer, you were streaming in hot. Just kept coming in. Glad to have you on. We got Charles on the Southern Pine today. Greg Riley. Let's wing this one today, boys. Interesting week so far. We had all that talk of tariffs and so forth. Greg, what are you seeing out there in the spruce market on the east side of spruce, and followed up with euro too?
I think following up on kind of where we were, the market felt like it was bottoming out a couple of weeks ago. We got the 232 that I had poo-pooed last week. It gave it a little bit more of a jump. We're kind of in a little freeze right now with mills waiting for Tuesday. I mean, guys that are quoting plus 10%, there's zero business there. And I think the undertone is positive. There's a lot of speculation about curtailment, but we haven't seen any of that. I do believe there's a certain level of quiet quitting going on out there, which is supportive to the market. But that's the Canadian spruce market. Euro market is kind of steady. I've actually been impressed by the flow continuing the way it has. Yes, they're shipping a lot less 2x6 16s, which is why those have gotten better pricing. But it hasn't really slowed as much. And a couple of conversations were like, yeah, 10%, we can deal with it. We're going to still be in the U.S. market, albeit not at massive levels, but we're going to stay in the market.
Yeah, we saw a couple, Greg, where guys had 16s, Euro 16s on the ground. They don't want to price them until they get to what number did they say? 690?
600 FOB the port.
I thought it was 690. I mean, 600. We had one guy said he wanted to wait till 690. It's like, okay.
Oh, yeah. That may be a long wait.
Yeah. And yeah.
I always say that when everybody's on one side of the market, you kind of want to go the other way. You got that contrarian in you.
Yeah.
Or you also say, what would hurt most people the most?
Mm-hmm.
You want to think about that for a millisecond and tell me where we are in those calculations in your mind.
Well, let's think about what would hurt. So Canadian mills are already hurting. And so the prices staying down will continue to hurt them. Then you go distribution. Where's distribution in terms of inventory levels? Small, medium, large. I'd have to think up until a week or two ago, we were in liquidation mode. So, and I'll just talk, personally, Matt, market going back down here, does it hurt? Not really. I mean, we've flushed most of our high price inventory already through. And, you and I talked about the hedge. We continue to sell more futures at pretty sizable premium to the cash market. So that doesn't hurt. End users, big guys are, and I've had two conversations where, yeah, they really have a lot of pressure on us to keep our inventories in line and down. They're not going to speculate and build. I will say I've had a little bit more interest lately than I have had in multifamily quotes for Q1. So that's neutral. So yeah, I mean, that's my overall assessment.
Don't you think, I guess it's a leading question because I have an opinion, and my opinion is that if we go down and stay down for any length of time, that would hurt the most people the most, right? Because it would hurt the mills for sure. It's already hurting the mills in the pocketbook, and then it would also disrupt the idea that Russ Taylor talked about last week. This is just a cycle. If you go into a 3 or 4 month slump and you're at well below break even prices, that's more than just a cycle. So that would kind of hurt a lot of producers, hurt traders, inventory managers, just you're going to have a whole quarter of basically trading for peanuts And in a depressed environment, I think the market going down and staying down is what would hurt the most people the most. You got everybody talking about it going up. The board's telling you it's going up. I'm not even hearing contrarian ideas to that. Everybody just assumes the price of lumber's got to go up over the next 90 days.
Matt, you asked the question. Greg answered his way, which gave me an unfair time to think about it here. But so just sitting in my little bubble where I sit at, for this week, if the board was down, Greg wanted to sell all of our inventory. And if the board is up, he wants to raise prices on all our inventory. And I think,
I don't know that you're being fair to me right there, but I'll let it slide.
I'm just saying what I see. And I'm but overall, we'll talk the basis that we have on stuff is good anyway, so it doesn't matter. Matter of fact, we would love for it to go up. Southern pine is one separate thing, which we'll talk to Charles about, because I don't think that can go down much lower. Spruce, I think if you went down $50, it hurts mills and you wouldn't have much business. But I think if you went up $50, business would come out of the woodwork. And I think people are teetering right now. And I mean, if Greg's usually pretty straight, even keeled on stuff. And right now it's tough because J-Dog just mentioned it's confusing. I'm like that dog. The market's like that dog that's like this when you're not sure if you're going to give him a treat or yell at him. It's everybody thinks it's seasonal. And first of all, thanks for the LinkedIn user in Canada that likes listening to us. Appreciate that. J-Dog says we ignore the seasonal this year. So
we never ignore the seasonals. We just give different weight to the seasonals depending on what type of market we're in. So in a bull market, sorry, Ash.
No, I guess with that said, I personally don't give a shit about seasonals anymore because all the housing starts are in the areas of the country that can build all year for the most part. And the way lumber is produced nowadays, people aren't going to run out of lumber at the mill level. I mean, the only way they're going to do that is curtailment. So and the other thing with seasonals, when they do go against you, they're a bugger. They'll really move.
But I'm going to say the key about seasonals is recognizing what type of market you're in. Are you in a bull market or are you in a bear market? So
well, it definitely establishes the structure of how you make your decisions. I agree with Greg.
So, you know, like, I mean, I always look as, hey, if I'm in a bull market during periods of seasonal weakness, the market kind of moves sideways, right? Has a minor adjustment. If I'm in a bear market during seasonal weakness, the market just collapses. Absolutely. And vice versa. So one of the ways you can, get a good sense is, are you in season? Are you, what type of market you're in based on, what it does during those seasonal times, and the flip side obviously is, during, during season in a bull market during seasonal strength, the market blows its brains out. And
didn't we just have a $200
collapse and go sideways in a bear market, right?
Didn't we just have our early seasonal? Like basically it came about a month or two early this year. And now we're trying to establish a floor, but gently.
I'm trying not to interrupt.
We talked about this a few weeks ago. Are we a V bottom? No. Are we a U bottom? Maybe. Are we an L bottom? I mean, to your point, Matt, I think an L bottom is the thing that hurts the most people. It's terrible for mills to have, the longer we stay down at these prices, right? It's terrible for distribution. I guess it doesn't really hurt end users at all, but
right. Yeah, I mean they'd probably rather prices go up. They'll make a better, gross profit at higher dollars. What's up, Charles?
I lost my thought. I'm trying not to interrupt, man.
Well, so let's bring you back to Southern Pine.
Wow, we can't senior moment down there in Bishopville.
Because then I get to thinking about something else that Greg says, and then Greg interrupts Matt, and then I get, I'm just trying to be, cordial here. Try my manners.
So let's talk about pine. Let's talk about pine, Charles. Like, what's going on in pine? Has there been any movement on that? What do you feel? And then we'll flip over to Matt on the U.S. species, and then we'll fold that into how Greg was thinking species are actually flipping right now. So what's Southern pine doing, Charles?
I mean, discounts are gone. I think we discussed that about a week ago. Discounts are gone. Markets are kind of firming. 6-inch is kind of leading the way. That seems to be a trend over the past 12 to 18 months, either direction. 6-inch either breaks first and then the market follows, or it solidifies first and the market follows. As Greg mentioned a couple of weeks ago, 12-inch finally made a move. So that's always a positive. The the one thing I will say is you talk about seasonals and you talk about what J-Dog said as far as same time last year and how it's set up into the spring. I think the setup's different, but the setup is the same, but the variables are different, right? I mean, we've been so emotional for the past 24 months on the backside of all the craziness that's occurred in this industry over the past 4 years, right? So I think we got to temper that a little bit, and I think we're experiencing that as a market. Right? People are trying not to make emotional decisions based on something that could happen, right? The other thing is with pine, I think 26 is going to be an extremely volatile year, especially if spruce continues to appreciate, and obviously it has to based on the landed cost basis for your primary producers up north. But it's going to be volatile because those major consuming markets that prefer spruce over pine 100% of the time, just as we've seen, you get a $150 spread, all of a sudden they dip their toe in the pine world and pine moves $100, $125, right? Then spruce drops and then pine consumption dissipates in those secondary markets and it drops $125. So, it's going to be a real interesting conundrum in 26. The one thing I'll agree with Greg too, as far as multifamily quotes for Q1, that is, I mean, the velocity in which we are seeing that stuff is higher than anything we've seen all year. There's inherent risk forward, right? Just because of species pricing. But go ahead, Matt.
Just to add to your,
I mean,
just to add to what you were.
I love that. I love that. Excuse me.
Mr. Beamer in the back. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to what you were just talking about.
In the back.
Multifamily. I mean, the layout's pretty simple. Multifamily is cheaper. So, if you're a 25, 30-year-old newly married couple and you're going to start your life together, you're not going to go buy a house first. You're going to go rent. It's half price. In the more
where
maybe
they want
not,
to live,
maybe not in Indianapolis, but for sure in Portland, Seattle, LA, Chicago, New York, Miami.
Do people want to move to Chicago though?
There's a lot of people that move to Chicago every year.
Chicago's one of the hottest real estate areas right now.
Really?
Chicago, Madison, Wisconsin.
Well, Madison, Wisconsin is unbelievable.
Have you ever been?
I'm not saying
been, Charles, to Chicago?
Where?
Chicago.
To Chicago?
Yeah.
I walked through the airport. It's about as far
Chicago's
as
actually a pretty interesting city. I like Chicago.
So Matt, just real quick, what are your U.S. species doing? The reason I'm asking is because one thing we've noticed with our spruce customers, and Charles, they're not right now. They're switching over to
Whitewood.
Like Greg had a conversation. Hem fir 2 and better. Anybody that usually uses spruce is switching over to 2x4, 2x6, 8s, 9s, and 10s in stud grade or in hem fir first of all, or Doug fir. We've seen a lot of that in the last week or two, right? Pick 2x6, 92 and 5/8. Number 2 in hem fir is like 390 Chicago, and spruce is like 450, right? So people that can make the switch are switching over to pine, and I think at least from the stud level right now,
hem fir.
I meant hem fir. Sorry, U.S. species. We're seeing a lot more of that now, and it never even crossed my mind till Greg was leaning on the threshold of my office. He goes, I think some of these switches from spruce are really going to U.S. species.
When you survey the Western markets and you look back on the last 30 to 60 days of price depreciation and then extra tariffs and now a 10% tax basically on imported lumber, then where does that open up space? If you're looking at it from a macro level, it opens up space for U.S. species, right? So it opens up some room for Charles's breadbasket. It opens up some room for all the mills out here in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, California. And then you add to that the idea that it's now fall and winter and spring in front of us, where weather's not really going to interfere with the yardability of dry hem fir, dry white fir, dry ponderosa pine, dry ESLP or SPF South, or Doug fir, which Doug fir is considered a premium stable product anyhow, right? That's one of the reasons why, Charles, you get asked to quote Doug fir only on jobs, right? Because some of those guys don't want to mess with yellow pine for yard reasons. So right now, if you're a U.S. producer on the West Coast, the door's wide open for you. It's just how hard do you want to work to go capture some new market share, and how aggressive are you going to be in attempting to, grab that market share? And then from the customer's perspective, there's a lot of people in this country that sort of turn off the spigot for Western species from, say, May through August. Just too hot. They don't want to mess around with it. But they'll turn it back on. So that's happening right now too. Now, I will say, having said all that, we're still struggling in the West to raise our prices. We have extended our order files out. The last weeks, we've definitely sold more than we've made, but we are having trouble raising our prices off of floor levels. We bumped studs a little bit more than dimension. I think 2x6 is probably the best item out here in terms of like random or studs. That was the most depressed item, and now it's starting to make a little move that Ashley has referred to on these 8-month cycles. If you've been listening to our show, that's starting to happen for real. We're starting to see a little bit more interest in 2x6 everything going forward. 2x4 is actually the one thing right now in Western species that's the toughest to get an order file and raise price on. We're selling 2x6 well. We're selling 2x. You can't find 2x. 2x's hard to find. Everybody's been profiling that back to 2x4. Well, 2x10 and 2x12 are stable and have an upward tilt to them. 2x4 is just flat as a pancake. I can counter mills. You guys can counter me. I mean, it's like we're cutting 18s and 20s back to 16s to make tallies look better. I mean, we're kind of like, it's work over here on 2x4. And then the value of 2x4 Western species is so much lower than futures price or the Canadian price with the 10% tariff added into it. That, look, if you're listening to this and you got the wherewithal to switch over to hem fir or Doug fir or whitewood or white fir or SPF South, you should pick up the phone and call your friendly West Coast mills, because they've got it.
1-800.
And that comes down to Charles, but to Charles, back to Charles too. Charles, you're in the catbird seat because most mills don't cut 4 and 6 inch studs in Southern pine. They're just piling on more 4 inch and 6 inch with all this production. So that's one reason why a lot of people don't think about it. But Charles does do 2x4 and 2x6 special trims on Southern pine, which, if you have an optionality on stuff like that, like if you can have optionality and go to a multifamily person on spruce, hem fir, Southern pine, and you give a trader like Charles, Matt, or Greg, or myself optionality, you're going to get a hell of a better price for a long-term project, period.
And I actually just had that conversation about a job in the Mid-Atlantic, upper Mid-Atlantic. It was originally they wanted nothing but spruce, right? And the conversation was very simply, if you do that, you're going to pigeonhole yourself. And I don't know that myself or a lot of people are going to give you a price that you want to pay, right? So if you have optionality in different firs and pine and mix and match 4 and 6 inch studs and pine and Doug fir or spruce or whatever, that's going to be the way to go. I mean, we got to, some of those things that happened during COVID are going to have to come back. And that optionality and that open blanket window of U.S. species, North American species as a whole, is going to have to happen. I mean, it's going to force people in that bucket.
Yeah. So everybody so far has mentioned, and this is true. Matt said it about U.S. species. Greg said it. Charles said it. I like, and full disclosure, we laid into it and bought as much 2x6. Hell, we even bought Western 2x6 cars 2 weeks ago. And Greg's like, "Why are you buying all those Western 2x6 cars?" And and we also sold a bunch of 2x6.
Today I went, wow, those were really great buys.
Well, but it's 6-inch
Greg gives
everywhere.
credit, Ash?
No,
I did. I go, wow, man, those are really great.
But the point is,
really
like, my God,
I told you.
like we felt 2x6. It almost, when it feels like it's never going to move, it starts to move, and now 2x6 is moving. And Matt, you just said 2x8. All kinds of inquiry on that. You can't find 2x8 anywhere.
And 4 to 6 weeks ago, like, I mean, guys were giving it away, right?
Yeah.
And
8 inch is crazy though, right?
It's 1 sec, Ash, and then I'll come back. But Matt, just to reiterate, like what you said about, the order file and 2x4. All you got to do is look in, and it's been that way. 2x4 has been such a better return for so long that it's finally all caught up, right? All the shift to more
at the same time that
versus everything
as you
else.
mentioned, Greg, earlier, that you talked to some people and they're under tremendous pressure to keep their inventories low. And you and I have firsthand knowledge of that, right? With people being told by their bosses. Yeah. So, and those are all 2x4. Those are all 2x4 related SKUs. And so here we are. There's ample amounts of 2x4 around. There's less and less 2x6. There's way less 2x8, and there's going to be way less 2x10 and 2x12 too going forward in Western species until next year. So I don't know. I want to go back to the original idea that we started the whole podcast with, where everybody thinks the market has to go up, and I don't know why, but I'm just so skeptical of that idea. And I'll tell you why. I guess
healthy.
I do know why.
I think that's healthy.
I'll tell you why I'm skeptical. Because my customers don't need the lumber. That's the problem. It's
Matt,
not coming from the demand side. And when you're in a supply-driven market without curtailments, and I'm not hearing any scuttlebutt whatsoever, whether it's up in Canada or here in the West. Nobody's taking time off. Nobody. So am I just going to wake up tomorrow morning with a Google alert saying, hey, Fraser shut down a mill, or Canfor shut down a mill, or Hampton shut down a mill? No, I don't think that. It feels less and less likely now that we're into mid-October and nothing has happened yet.
Matt, you just made it. Somebody's going to make an announcement tonight now after you said that.
I
hope so. It'll make us all a lot of money.
Oh, wait a minute. Here, I raised my hand. Charles, you raised yours first.
I appreciate that. Age before beauty, Greg. Age before beauty.
Love, brother.
Excuse my ignorance here. So we're in a.
Okay, you're excused.
So people aren't taking any time off in the West. They're not, Canadians, based on where we're at in the year, right? But what happens when demand actually does engage, though? And what is everybody's idea of when that happens? I mean, we can take interest rates, off the table. I think there's more to it than that. I don't think it's that simple.
Well, you talking back to affordability again?
Yeah.
Just one thing, Matt. I understand what you're saying. Western U.S., which has not seen any curtailment, which makes sense because, these current prices, while may not be fancy, they're still probably a net positive mill return for most mills. When you look at, we have had Interfor's announced curtailment, West Fraser's announced curtailment. I guess Canfor is my real wild card. They curtailed so much last year. I don't know what they have left to curtail. I haven't heard anything official from Tolko, but these are, and then there's like I said, the quiet quitting. We've got a bunch of mills in the East that we know are running at, somewhere between 40 and 60% of production levels that, just trying to just keep going along. So, I mean, I think the production numbers will ultimately show lower numbers in Canada for sure, but which is why I think we need to accept that, U.S. West species and Southern pine are going to be the lowest priced products delivered into market. And it's back to Charles' point, is at what spreads does that really impact the market?
Well, let's just bring up Matt's point. I think what we saw this last run up. Let's look at the CME hem fir contract. Oh, did I say that? Hem fir in Chicago, Matt, 530, 540 today. And
I think 540 to 550 is kind of like
board
the current market.
606, basically a $70 guaranteed return on an item. And
new math.
Where hem fir usually runs a premium to spruce,
or usually equal.
It's how many times do you have a guarantee of $70 1,000 on a trade every day? Every day. I mean, just
never. And it always goes back to something that I used to joke about this when I was younger, and my main business, 25 years ago was Colorado. And I bought and sold just a ton of white fir and Doug fir dimension out of the West. And I used to joke that when white fir or Doug fir prices got at or below the spruce prices, shut my eyes and buy every single car of lumber I could possibly buy and just shut up about it, right? And we're there right now, and we've been there. I mean, Doug fir prices and spruce prices are about equal at the moment on a delivered basis in the middle of the country and West. And then hem fir and white fir prices are cheaper.
Yeah.
And that problem just keeps getting exacerbated by the futures contract going up. It goes up every day. And I kind of shake my head at it. It's like it will resolve itself. One of two things will happen: either the hem fir West Coast prices are going to go up and match that futures price at some point in the future, or the futures price is going to collapse down to Western species type prices and put the hurt on a whole bunch of people.
Matt, do you remember in this time in 2022 where we were looking at like $100 to $150 premium January to the cash market? And
remind me, please.
We were looking at just ginormous premiums into January, and we were like, and the market kept going up, and we kept buying cash and selling.
Was that when lumber went to 1,700?
No, that 1700 was at 21 went to 1700, 22 went to 14 something.
Okay, but it went up 4 digits.
Went up a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll never forget. I mean, the hardest part about that, the hardest part about it is, hey, like, let's just say, you know what, let's just do some what ifism, and what if that, lumber's the new gold, and it keeps going up, and it does. It goes up to $650 or $700, and the spread to cash just keeps getting wider. I mean, that's not going to hurt most people, but it is going to hurt me.
It's going to hurt me a little bit. I'll have to go.
I'll be on the phone with Montreal every other day going, margin.
Yeah.
Margin.
I'll have an email sent to me going, "Why did you lose so much money in the fourth quarter on your futures position?" I'd be like, "Well, that's because I was short and hedged." Why didn't you get out of it? Because I can't see the future.
Didn't you know that cash was going to go up? Everybody knew.
So Charles, what's going on down in your area of the country? You guys are still building there, a lot of stuff. Are you still like where we're shipping a lot of spruce to? And Matt, maybe Carolina, Tennessee still, some parts of Florida, Georgia. Where are you seeing the hot spots at that you're shipping to? And in the Midwest, a lot of spots in the Midwest, and still a little Texas, but not as much this last month. What are you seeing?
You talking to me or Beamer?
You.
Sorry, I got lost.
Yeah, you're okay.
Carolinas, Tennessee, and kind of mid-Atlantic is pretty good for us. Obviously, Central Florida is a hotbed as well. You know, I think I saw a map or something the other day. Florida, the Carolinas, Georgia's kind of stalled as far as immigration to these areas. Not immigration, but people moving here, right?
Mhm.
So there's a need for housing, whether it's single or multifamily. So that's definitely kind of holding true. Tennessee's good. Missouri's good. Ohio's decent. And we're actually continuously seeing inquiry for pine into the New Jersey, Massachusetts region, which might be a heartbreaker for Greg, but it's true.
Oh man, I love that. I love that. Here, I did just get a multifamily, and I asked, and he did give me just gave me him for Doug for our options.
Well, there you go. Okay, maybe they're listening to the show. Hey, one thing is, if you are a multifamily person, Matt, Charles, Greg, which we all ship a lot of them, and we know you're short out there for Q1 and Q2, guys. And
Yeah.
what's if you're going to get a forward price today and people can use the board, it's $100 to $100+ $1,000 on top of today's prices. So, what items would you tell people to buy and hold, and what items would you tell people to back off on right now if they had stuff sold for Q1 of next year start? Anybody can
All
go first.
studs.
All the pine plate and OSB panels should be covered.
OSB is a no-brainer.
Wow.
It's sub 200, isn't it?
It's been moving a little
Yep.
bit, but yeah. And
Honestly,
go ahead, Matt.
we should get it. We should get an OSB guy on here one time because we don't talk about it that much.
Charles, why you dissing Charles? He's an OSB guy.
No, I know, but I'm talking about somebody from the production side or somebody from that's just a pure OSB guy that does no lumber, like a total panel dude. That specializes in OSB. I mean, you might have some Euro guys. Do you know anybody from Chrono or something like that would talk about it? So, but the point, OSB is so cheap. It's got to be 15, 20-year lows. It's
no, it's not. It's not that bad. It's like 10. I mean, we're at same levels as
inflation
19.
adjusted, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I keep hearing about it like it's terrible.
You load up wherever you can store it, and because I mean, trucks are cheap too. They're like $5,000 a truck, right? For 7/16.
Yeah.
I would say
just go buy a few trucks with your credit card.
I would say.
Yeah.
Here, put that on my visa.
I need some points for my vacation next summer.
I'm going to put that on my Alaska travel card. But yeah, studs for sure are completely undervalued compared to where they have been the last couple of years. They're at the low end of the spectrum. All short lumber. I mean, a lot of these job guys don't want a lot of short lumber, but if they're going to buy any bracing or web stuff, that kind of stuff, if you can put your hands on some 8s and 10s at a discount, there's never been a better, cheaper time to do that in any width. Just short lumber in general is completely depressed.
Greg?
Yes, sir.
I mean, as I'm thinking about it, and Devin quoted some stuff recently, I mean, one of the challenges for us in forward pricing right now is everything's undervalued to 2x4, right? So when you look at market baskets of lumber, so it kind of ties in with what you're saying is, everything is undervalued. And when I say 2x4, 2x4 spruce, 2x4 Western whitewoods, everything else is undervalued to that. So to the extent you're going to buy and hold things, buy everything else. I mean, yes, 4-inch plate in pine is undervalued also, but maybe not quite as much as the studs and the other items.
Question.
Yeah.
Charles, what's 2x12 yellow pine 2 and better trading for roughly?
Prem plus 10.
I mean, what is that number?
As a composite?
Just 2x4
a random,
pine.
like if I wanted to buy 4 random trucks at 2x12, 8 to 16 from you, what would you price them at roughly? FOB your yard or a mill nearby?
360, 370 delivered anywhere?
No, you're not that cheap anymore.
Okay, this is why we're trying to flesh you out here. Like, okay,
I mean, just give me a number. It doesn't even have to be
400.
accurate.
Sub
I mean,
400.
FOB mill, you're probably at that 365, anywhere from 365.
that just sounds
to
cheap.
Even if it was 400, okay. Think about what I just said.
Yeah. No, I
It's
agree.
2
with
by
you.
12,
I mean,
number 2 grade
14
stamped at 400 FOB the sawmill, and the board is at 607 Chicago on 2x4 tune better, which is like 500 mil. And so you can buy 2x12, the strongest species in North America, with a number 2 stamp
Say it
on
again, Matt, for the people in the back. Say it again.
I just am shocked. I mean, yeah, if that's not a long-term value, I don't really know what is. I might go into business with you guys and open up a warehouse and just shove a bunch of 2x12 yellow pine in it for a year.
I mean, the intrinsic value is unmatched in any item in the market right now, outside of OSB, right?
Value
'Cause, I mean,
compared to
OSB
strength
feature
is
film.
like off the charts. I mean, if you start looking at the
Yeah.
true value of something, isn't just that it's cheap. It's the
No,
usability of it,
exactly.
right? I mean, if it was 2x12 whitewood, you can't use whitewood 2x12 for rafters in Wisconsin.
Yep.
Won't make code. So, but the usability of yellow pine is nationwide. You could use 2x12 yellow pine
So
number 2
diverse.
anywhere.
It's like ZZ Top nationwide.
Yeah, I find that to be the real value of it, not just the price.
Yeah, no
It's
doubt.
the usability
Oh,
of it.
100%.
And just so I give the CME a fair shake, you could sell the CME against it too on their number, but it's cheap. Or you could even, Matt, there's even some lengths when we look at overvalued, undervalued, you supersize up to a 2x12 number 1, and then you're really covering everything. But the other thing, it's hard. It's hard to get any of these pine guys to wrap anything anymore. I was told by a couple pine guys they don't like to wrap because treaters charge them to take the wrap off.
Well, I guess the question is, what percentage of production goes through treater hands in the South?
50%?
Is it?
60% all day.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're the
Yeah.
dominant force then.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, of
100%.
course they're going to charge you and they'll give you a hard time. You're a B-level customer, buddy. What are you talking about paper wrap? We don't want that damn paper wrap. Go back to Canada.
First, they don't have people to do it. They don't, which means they don't want to. And then they'll like, if you keep insisting, they'll be like, yeah, $20 1,000.
I literally had somebody tell me that the other day. $20 to paper wrap
Yeah.
unit of wood. Never mind. I'll give somebody else a PO.
Can I
I'm
send
not
some
doing
guys
that.
over to do it? Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
blown
So,
away.
so what we're saying is, I would say I would tell people to look at 6-inch in most items as an outright, but Greg's right about that. The 4-inch is so far in front of everything. That's a tough one. And yeah, anybody's trying to move today that they wanted to get a hold of. Matt, you still got your whitewoods you're moving?
It's mostly gone.
Okay.
I'm in the 9th inning with 2 outs and a guy up at the plate right now. So
Go Cubs. Go Cubs.
that's not
Let's
really
go.
an issue, and it's actually been a good the fall like I alluded to earlier. You know, when you get into the cooler weather, that stuff travels to a wider audience. It was harder to sell it in July and August in the heat of the summer, just because of that. But now that we're into the cool season, we're into the treater season, it becomes a little bit simpler, a little bit more straightforward. I'm actually, like you, I'm more interested in the Western species. I mean, I'm not telling you guys to do anything that I'm not doing already, right? Like,
This is not financial advice.
no, but I mean,
Yeah,
if I
you wanna
say
make
Western,
sure you consult your financial advisor to make sure this is
if I'm
appropriate
talking
for you.
about big spreads and I'm out here talking about cheap Western lumber, I guarantee you, I'm already buying it and I'm already selling the board against it, right? Like this, I'm not telling you to do things I wouldn't do myself. I'm doing it already.
Right.
And so, I still want to do more of
You're
that.
like the Black Rock of lumber.
Well, I mean, look, the only thing I've learned one thing in 31 years of doing this, the only thing that really, really matters is that the 4 of us, people look at us and say they're credible. That's a credible person.
100%.
Right? Like, I don't
100%.
care if you like me or not, but I want you to believe that I'm honest and truthful, and then I'll do what I say I'm going to do. And I've always cared about that the most, right? So that aside, say something, have an idea that I'm going to do, I've already doing it. And I'm just telling you in a roundabout way, this is what I think makes sense. Now, the 2x4 out west is still undervalued. It's an obvious trade. Okay, I like it. I want to keep doing more of that. The secondary thing
so what's your mill price on random 4-inch? You asked
anywhere
me,
from
what's your mill price
420 to 450 FOB mill, depending on what your freight rates are to the Midwest. And the Canadians are trying to get closer to 500 mil, or have already gotten some of that. Now, the one thing that I'm going to add to that is that I would much rather speculate on number 2 lumber than number 3 or utility lumber right now. And I specialize in number 3. I'm a big number 3 utility guy. I mean, I've got plenty of that stuff on the ground every single day. I buy a lot of that stuff in the open market. Got all kinds of contracts and stuff. I mean, like I'm pretty well versed in the number 3 utility game, both green and dry. And I don't want to buy it. I mean, if I was going to go buy a block of cars right now, I'd much rather buy 2 and better. Much rather. So take that for what you want.
There's a lot more volatility in number 2 all the time anyway. Like you have more liquidity opportunity in number 2 than you do in 3 in utility. At least that's my experience.
Number 3 in utility is extremely volatile when demand goes up, right? When we're in a high demand cycle, then low grade is a much more volatile thing because there's a finite amount of lumber that's going to get put into the utility pile, right? Mills aren't trying to make that lumber on purpose.
That makes sense.
It's a byproduct. And then when things are really good, all the customers out there and all the distributors and all the wholesalers and all the people that put their hands on the lumber want it all at the same time. And so you have this captive amount of product being chased by way too many hands, and it'll just drive the price of that stuff way up and way down, big swings. But that's not the kind of market we're in. We're in a market where people are canceling contracts and people don't want to touch it. And,
Matt,
there's ample amounts.
One point to what you just said, the big trading houses that can't put wood on the ground or won't put wood on the ground have a hard time really taking advantage of these trades because they don't want to put 6-inch on the ground and sell futures against it. It's too messy for them, and they want to just turn stuff for 3%. So the people that are listening that can actually do that are the people we're talking to here, right? The people that just flip lumber for a living are always buying the overvalued item, so to speak, and playing the music and playing in the momentum items and playing musical chairs with them. And they want to sell you because they want to get out of them, right? And flip them. And what Matt is saying, if I hear you right, Matt, we do that also on accident sometimes, but we're buying stuff, investing in it, hedging it, and coming out here and telling you what we do. And quite honestly, probably saying way too much, but
yeah, it's on a longer time scale though. I'm not, I have the capacity to stack wood on the ground.
Yeah.
So do you.
Yeah.
So does Charles.
Yeah.
And so we're speaking from that perspective. I can keep wood on the ground at the origin or at the destination. I have both options if I want to. And so, when things like are happening right now with hem fir and Doug fir being a value compared to spruce futures prices, I can either rail it down to Dallas and put it in my inventory down there, or I can just put it into a reload here in Portland.
Why don't you EFP it or hold?
I could do that too,
because nobody knows how to in this industry, Charles.
I could do that too, and that's something that I would love to do. And if people are listening that are into EFPing, hem fir, Doug fir, ESLP, SPF South, whitewood, other species besides spruce, you should definitely pick up the phone or send me an email, or Ashley and Greg, because they have. I've done some trades with them, and the 3 of us have experience doing this already. Okay, so we're not guessing. We know. That's an off-camera discussion. So
yeah, and you don't
please reach out to us.
You don't have to call. We're glad to talk to you about it. I mean, what's the thing from Tommy Boy? You can go to your to your broker, or you can go to us, the butchers, right? And if you go to your and that's nothing against anybody in between, but most of the people that aren't risking their personal wealth on aren't going to have the same answer. Greg, what's the easiest way to learn how to do something right or wrong, or Matt, is to actually lose money or make money, put the trade on, and then analyze it afterwards and see why you did or why you didn't. And
I have a question.
Yeah.
For Greg.
Okay.
Because Greg, I view you as the old wise one that
The
knows
OG.
way more.
OG.
Knows way
OG.
more about micro and macroeconomics than I'll ever know because of your Northwestern heritage and your friendship with Brian.
A lot of
So
pressure.
the rates, what do you think over the next 6 months to a year will happen on interest rates, mortgage rates, money flow, tariffs? How does this all sort of work out in your worldview, where we're going to end up as an economy and where we're going to end up as a home building nation in over the next 3 to 9 months? What's your thoughts?
Let me unpack that piece by piece. In terms of rates, I mean, I think the market consensus is that you're going to see a continued downtrend in short-term rates. Yesterday, they came out and showed that there's been a huge increase in the amount of adjustable rate mortgages that have been lately in terms of origination. And I think you'll continue to see that. I see a healthy rate curve of having short-term rates at, 3.25% and a long-term rate of 4.25%. Well, geez, that's where long-term rates are right now. You can see a little bit of compression on mortgage rates right now. I mean, long-term, mortgage rates are typically 1 to 1.25% above, 1 to 1.5, maybe above the 10-year. And right now they're running, 2.25 above the 10-year. So there's a little opportunity for compression on the long-term rate. So that's kind of my rate outlook. Economy as a whole, it's like, wow, it's like every day we get a new all-time high in equities. So there's a huge wealth effect there. I mean, Ashley has killed it this year on his crypto trades. I mean, I got to be in to win. It was one of the interesting things was like gold at 4,000.
I missed that.
I miss that also. I mean, I remember I was long gold way back when it was, $250, $300 an ounce. And, like most really big winners, I sold it way too early. I do that. That is my personal, one of my personal shortcomings. I sell winners too early sometimes, Matt.
Ooh, I'm the same way.
That's because psychologically somebody would tell you don't feel like you deserve to make the profit.
No. I feel like I deserve to make it, but it's like, hey, when something goes up, I mean, Ash, we had this thing the other day.
Did you learn that in counseling?
I did, and the other I did.
But so I brought this to Ashley yesterday. I said, hey,
100%.
So yeah. Gold's up 50% this year. Silver, platinum, palladium.
Yeah, did you see silver's new high?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, silver hit $50. So silver's $50 today. Hunt Brothers are rolling over in their grave right now.
Greg, what did I tell you was a good buy last night?
Yeah. It was $48.90 and then now it's $50.
And I would have sold it already this morning.
Exactly. but then we looked at Goldman Sachs commodity index basically like unchanged. So you look at all the other commodities, oil, lumber, all the grains, all the cattles, all of them are no place. And all the money is in metals, crypto, equities.
So how much of that money is sneaking out of equities and going into metals and crypto because people are afraid that it's overvalued and that's their only safe haven?
You have an all-time record high in money market funds also, $7.7 trillion. So, there's just and then I go in, and Matt, to my point is when I look at the investment in data centers, when I look at the investment in new manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, autos, I look and I go, wow, there's just a massive amount of investment going in across this country, which has to have a positive underlying effect. Yes, housing is too expensive, but it's in the process of correcting the price, right? I mean, we're flattish on price year to date. And, we need to get some income growth, relatively flat mortgages, and those things are going to help housing.
You know
So,
what? You know what my daughter asked me the other day? She goes, Dad, if I get out of college and I'm making $90,000 a year, is that going to be enough? And I said,
enough
my
for what?
first
Enough
job
for
out
what?
of college was I was getting paid $22,000 a year, and I
Yeah,
thought I was rich.
You might have been overpaid then.
Yeah. Yeah, no, literally, I was a purchasing agent for a computer company making $22,000 a year. I was paying, I don't know, $200 a month rent with two other guys on a $500, $600 apartment. You could I bought a used Ford sedan, like a Thunderbird or something like that, for $3,000. This is all in 1993, 94 timeframe. $90,000 for a single person, 24, 25 years old. Yeah, I think within a few years, if you were smart with your money, you could probably buy a house, right? Because it doesn't cost $90,000 a year to live. I think you'd be feeling pretty good
you
at
probably
90.
taught your kids the cardinal rule is it doesn't matter how much money you make. It only matters how much you save.
I just thought it was funny that she didn't have any idea whether $90,000 was a lot or little. I'm like thinking to myself, hell, I'd have done backflips if I was making $90,000 when I was 24 years old.
Yeah, but 90,000 back then was 90,000 a day was equivalent to about 10 back then.
Yeah.
Hey boys,
guys,
I gotta jump.
I gotta roll.
All right, guys.
Great being with you and seeing you. Good stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, right?
Bye, boys.
I'm fascinated by this. It's a very See you guys,
Matt. You owe me an off an off camera return. Okay.
Yep. I'll be with you shortly. See you guys.